Hi, my name is Katrina Johnson, and I am the U.S. Department of Agriculture's liaison serving the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I would like to welcome you to Virginia's first Community Prosperity Summit. The folks you will meet today usually log thousands of miles each year coming to cities and towns like yours. And although for much of this year we have not been able to come directly to you, we wanted to take an opportunity to connect with the communities we serve as all of you work to build a better tomorrow. Today, we would like to talk with you about some of the programs and tools that are available to help build resilience and growth in your communities. We will ask you to think a little about the needs in your community and give you an opportunity to ask us questions and to tell us more about what USDA, Virginia State University, and our federal, state, and local partners can do to assist you in meeting your goals, whether that's through additional summits or workshops or meetings with program staff in your region or town on specific topics and issues that we can work collaboratively on to help you implement effective solutions. With that being said, I would like to introduce our host for today's program, the best dean in all the land, Dean of the College of Agriculture and 1890 Administrator at Virginia State University, Dean M. Ray McKinney.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, and for that introduction. And on behalf of President Makola Abdullah, faculty, staff, students of Virginia State University, we would like to welcome you to today's Prosperity Summit. It has been an absolute pleasure of Virginia State University to serve as your host for today's event in partnership with the Southern Rural Development Center and the USDA. As we are putting on today's event, I'm reminded that it is through these collaborations and partnerships that allow us to bring to the citizens of the Commonwealth and other states the prowess of USDA from a programmatic standpoint, as well as your land grant universities. In the Commonwealth, you have Virginia State, Virginia Tech University as your land grant institutions. And it is that combination of the universities, our local governments, our state governments, and our federal partners that we work and strive to bring programs and assistance to you, our stakeholder. So today's program, we want you to sit back, listen to our speakers, hear of the various programmatic opportunities that are coming to the Commonwealth. And please, as you listen and provide feedback, your feedback will allow us to better develop and design programs and activities that are specific to address your concerns and issues. So with that again, welcome to today's Virginia Community Prosperity Summit.
Thank you, Dean. I appreciate you making the time today to talk with us about Virginia State and to welcome us for the first Virginia Community Prosperity Summit. I think that we have on the line Jackie Davis Slay. Are you there, Jackie? She is having some technical difficulty, so I may come back to her. But while I have everyone here, and before I introduce our next guest, I just want to see who we have in the room. So if you all could go to the chat, which you can access by clicking the chat icon on the bottom toolbar, and let us know who you are representing by typing in your organization's name, that would be appreciated. So let's see if we can fill up the chat this morning, and I'll get us started. And if you have questions for the presenters, please put them in the chat. We'll address them after the presentation if time permits. Otherwise, the presenters will stay to address the comments directly in the chat. So next up, I'll just say this, what a difference a week makes. Last week when I talked to our next presenter, Ms. Beth Walker Green, I addressed her as the Virginia State Director for Rural Development. But today I'm introducing her as the current Acting Administrator for USDA's Rural Housing Service. And I am grateful that you could join us today, Beth. And I know that there are several people who are on today's call who are grateful for all of your hard work here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And with her today is another rural development guru, Ms. Ann Herring, who is the Community Solutions Specialist with Rural Development's Innovation Center. Ladies.
Thank you so much, Katrina. I appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate you taking the time to join us today. And as Katrina said, yes, a week does make a difference. So I was going to introduce myself as the Virginia State Director. I will be coming back to that. But right now, I'm the acting administrator for USDA's Rural Development Rural Housing Service. So it's been an honor to be up here. I'm still working out some technical glitches, so I couldn't get on the live feed today, but I'm honored to be part of this summit. And I would like to thank all of you for joining, and also the Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement for putting the summit together. Very excited for everything you're going to be able to learn today. And again, reach out, ask questions. Ann and I will stay on through the end to be able to have anything at the end of this that you might think of. And if there's anything during this conference or summit that you have questions, you can always reach out to us afterwards. We're available always. And excited to share what USDA Rural Development does. And I will turn it over to Ann Herring, who's the Community Solutions Specialist in my right hand. And we appreciate you listening, and just reach back out if you have anything that we can do for you. Ann?
Thank you, Beth, and good morning, everyone. Hope you can hear me okay. If not, please put a note there in the chat. And again, welcome, and Katrina and everybody at OPPE and all of our other partners, thanks again for putting on what we know is going to be a great session this morning. As our first slide there indicates, rural development is your partner in prosperity. No pun intended as we talk about community prosperity today. And maybe go back one slide, Katrina, if you would, to our official mission statement. We hope that you're at least somewhat familiar with rural development and what we do, but if not, we'd like to share our official mission statement with you. And that is to assist rural communities in creating prosperity so they are self-sustaining and economically thriving through investments that create ladders of opportunity, build regional resilience, and support the growth of emerging markets. And we do that through more than 40 different loans, grants, guarantees, and technical assistance programs to support economic development in rural communities. So that's our claim to fame. Next slide, Katrina, please. And we are actually a mission area called Rural Development and have 3 different agencies underneath that, which we'll talk about all 3. We have our Rural Business Cooperative Service, the Rural Housing Service, which Beth is now, we have loaned her to be the administrator of, and we know she'll do great things. And then our Rural Utility Service. And we'll touch on each one of these in just a few minutes. Next slide, Katrina. We are, of course, set up as a national organization, federal, one of the many agencies of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and you'll hear from several others of those today, with our national office, of course, in Washington. Our state office is in Richmond, where Beth will be returning to, as she highlighted, thank goodness, and 47 different other state offices and 400 area offices all across the country. Now, in Virginia, we have 4 area offices, and then 4 sub-area offices and a number of satellite locations across the state. Our area offices are in Wytheville, Lynchburg, Harrisonburg, and Cortland. And we are blessed to be able to continue our operations in a remote work environment. I have behind me, if you're wondering what that is, that's the Natural Bridge of Virginia. I'm blessed to call that area of Virginia home. And hats off to our folks at our visitor center there in Rockbridge County for setting a little economic development and sharing some Zoom photographs of some of our key assets in the region. Just another way to promote rural prosperity. Next slide, Katrina. This is the link to all of our programs, pretty close to 50. We like to share that with you because that is kind of our Bible. We call that our matrix of all those varied programs. It discusses the eligible applicants, the rural areas, the purpose and intent of each of the different programs. So we hope you'll click on that. And by the way, I don't know that we shared this up front, but you will, as a participant, get links and copies of all the information today. So we try to provide all the one-stop shopping throughout the presentation, so you'll have all those resources available for you. And we would welcome the opportunity after today, as Dean McKinney said, to further our conversations and even perhaps come to your rural community and tell you a little bit more of a deeper dive into what our programs do offer. Next slide, please. Okay, back to each of our different agencies. Again, we are a lender. We do provide loans, grants, guarantees, and varied ways. In rural Virginia, in fiscal year 2019, We were blessed to bring over $1 billion into Virginia's rural economy. I'll repeat that, over $1 billion. Now, while that's impressive for a team of about 60 people, it's not the dollars, it's the impact of those dollars that's what's important. And that's what we want you to focus on today, to be thinking of those ways, like Katrina said, that we can bring some of these precious dollars to your rural communities to impact some positive results. Okay, we'll start with our Rural Business and Cooperative Service. And our RBCS helps strengthen communities and create jobs by building competitive businesses. We provide financial backing and technical assistance to stimulate business creation and growth. These programs work through partnerships with public and private community-based organizations and financial institutions to provide financial assistance, business development, and technical assistance to rural businesses. These programs help to provide capital, equipment, space, job training, and entrepreneurial skills that can help to start and or grow a business. Our business programs also support the creation and preservation of quality jobs in rural America. Some of the popular programs you may be familiar with are our business and industry guaranteed loans, where we work actually with an approved lender, and our rural energy programs, our cooperative programs for business entities that are a cooperative legal structure, and our value-added producer grant program, which goes to ag producers. I probably should have made the distinction about a guaranteed loan. That is actually made in partnership with an approved lender. They actually loan the dollars in partnership with our guarantee. So that bridges the gap between our direct type financing and commercial on the commercial sector, and where both of us are, again, able to do that much more. Okay, next we'll go to our Rural Housing Service. This is Beth's bailiwick now on day 5. And our Rural Housing Service helps rural communities and individuals by providing loans, grants, and guarantees for housing and essential community facilities. We provide, through our Rural Housing Service, single-family homeownership opportunities to very low through moderate income individuals, both direct loans as well as guaranteed loans. Our homeownership programs are our flagship programs. So again, we know Beth's going to do great things up there in DC. We also have a home repair program for existing very low income existing homeowners. Very popular program. In Virginia, we have close to 250 multifamily housing complexes across the state that provide an alternative to homeownership. You know, not everyone wants to mow grass and paint and all those fun things that come along with homeownership. So we do provide either a family style apartment complex or an elderly and disabled style of apartment living. And we also have a guaranteed program in that. And to date, Virginia has the largest multifamily housing guaranteed loan complex in it. That's near Charlottesville. So we're very proud of all that. Now, the Community Facilities Program also falls under our Rural Housing Service. And those are loans, grants, and again, guarantees for essential community facilities in rural areas. And those are services that are targeted to all of us. And you think anything that a local government or a nonprofit that serves the public at large would offer. Some examples might be a hospital, health clinics, daycare, firehouses, courthouses, fire trucks, emergency responder equipment, all of that, community centers, anything that serves all of us. We can get very creative with that program. Next, our Rural Utility Service, RUS. Our Rural Utility Service administers programs that provide much needed infrastructure or infrastructure improvements to rural communities. These include water and waste treatment, electric power, and telecommunication services. We help rural utilities expand, keep their infrastructure and technology up to date, and establish new vital services such as distance learning and telemedicine. And oh my goodness, if we did not know the importance of those last 3 or 4 months ago, we certainly do now, do we not? And many, many years ago, our agency ran electric and telephone lines across rural America. And you're probably familiar with back in the day, as they say, and now we're doing participating in a much similar endeavor with our broadband program. We've already had a question in advance over announcements of future funding opportunities for various programs. And we'll show you here in just a few minutes about how to stay in touch with us so you're looped into any of those new funding opportunities that come along. Next slide, Katrina. Okay, we are a lender, as I pointed out, and if you would measure us up to a commercial bank, we're one of the largest in the country, and as such, of course, we have responsibility to service our loan portfolio, and as such, have provided a variety of measures to our portfolio dealing with the COVID recovery. Next slide, Katrina. So we have a dedicated website to our COVID-19 resources, not only rural development, but so does USDA as a whole. So if you fall under our umbrella, there are daily updates, stakeholder announcements, and a variety of resources for our rural lenders, as well as frequently asked questions. And this is updated very frequently. Next slide, please. We have a new resource, an online tool, Federal Rural Resource Guide, that was developed in partnership with the folks at our Innovation Center and our Office of External Affairs. And this document has been viewed more than any other document in the history of rural development. And it was just created, gosh, maybe 2 months ago, pretty recently. So again, we'll provide you with the links at the end of the presentation. We hope you'll look at that. Again, it's all federal. All of our USDA agencies are located there, and any other federal resource that might assist in recovery efforts from the pandemic is listed in this. Next slide, please. We have been blessed to receive some precious funding in the CARES Act, and we have one program with dollars still remaining, and that's our Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan Program for working capital. This is not a new program. That program exists, but we were blessed to receive funding to support up to an additional $1 billion in lending authority for working capital type loans that have a longer term than normal. There's a different deferral period up front, and some of the eligible purposes might be payroll costs, rents, leases, utilities, inventory, things like that. And for the first time ever, this program now includes eligibility for an agricultural producer that is not eligible for similar type financing through the Farm Service Agency, which Diane will talk about here shortly. So that's a new twist. So this program has been modified particularly for the COVID-19 recovery. So we're proud of that. Okay, next slide, please. So here's how to find us. We are all over the place. We have, of course, our national web presence, our state web presence, our coronavirus page. We are on Twitter, both Virginia as well as nationally. And we also have a Gov delivery. So you see that red envelope. All these things are at the bottom of our signature lines, by the way, if you ever see our emails. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter, check out our website from time to time, and please sign up for our Gov delivery subscription. That is a self-subscribing program. All of our news comes through that. And please sign up for our Virginia page, as well as the national page. All the national office sends national announcements, and we send more particular to Virginia. And as news about particular funding opportunities or events such as this, webinars, training opportunities that we're having, all that will come through that news feed. So again, we hope you'll be able to follow us on all that. Next slide, please. And here's our staff directory. And this is also on our Virginia webpage for rural development. And this will take you to all of our staff across the state. Easy to find us. And that does change from time to time. So don't just depend on this particular link as we make those enhancements. As we have staff changes, we keep that freshened up on our webpage. So that takes you directly to all of our staff, all their emails and telephone numbers, all forward to their location, wherever they happen to be working remotely. So you can find us and further engage in our conversations about what we at Rural Development can do to assist you and your rural community. I want you to remember our tagline, Together, America Prospers. And just coincidentally, the other day I saw a quote in the Cooperative Living magazine, I'm sure many of you get that, from our electric cooperatives financed by USDA Rural Development, by the way. And the quote says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So we here at Rural Development, again, remember, together, America prospers. So we thank you, Katrina. That wraps up our presentation. Next slide is just kind of a closeout, but we'd love to entertain questions later on. Again, we'd love to come to your community and share information with our partners about ways that we can assist elevate you and your communities. So with that, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anne, for that great information. If there are any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. Ms. Walker-Green and Ms. Herring will stick around to answer any questions that you post in the chat. Next up, we have someone who has been with USDA for 31 years, and throughout that time, she has made an indelible impact by working to ensure that farmers, ranchers, and landowners are equipped with information that they need to be successful. I introduce to you Mrs. Diane Honore Giles, Public Affairs Outreach Specialist at USDA's Farm Service Agency.
Well, good morning, and thank you very much, Katrina, for allowing Farm Service Agency to be a part of this great program. Farm Service Agency. Farm Service Agency is a part of the U.S. Department of Agriculture that administers programs that provide a safety net for farmers and ranchers. Next slide, please. If you are new to USDA, these are some of the things that we're looking at. If you are new to USDA, these are some of the things that we will ask you when you enter the USDA office. Of course, we're going to ask you your name, address, telephone number, email address. We need your social security number or identification number. If you're involved with the entity, organization, we would need some documentation. Also, if you lease land, we need some information on that also. And if you're affiliated with the owners and operators, be prepared to discuss your farming operation and your goals when you enter the USDA office. Next slide, please. As you see on the screen, Farm Service Agency, we have two different sections. The first section I'm going to talk about today is our Farm Service Agency program. That is the Farmer Program section that I will be talking about at this time. As you see, we have several programs. Our ARD PLC, this is our agriculture risk price loss coverage. This protects the farmer's revenue from changes in market and conditions. Provide a safety net to our farmers. Also, you see our LIP. The LIP is the Livestock Indemnity Program that provide benefits for livestock owners for livestock's death, energy, or any in excess of normal mortality rate caused by adverse weather or by attacks of animals. Then you see the ELAP. ELAP is the Emergency Assistance for Livestock, Honeybees, Farm-Raised Fish. This program provides emergency assistance to be eligible producers of livestock and honeybees and farm-raised fish. It covers loss due to eligible adverse weather conditions, include blizzards, disease of cattle, water shortage, wildfires, but this is determined by the Secretary. We also have our NAP program, which you always will see NAP, N-A-P. That is our non-insured crop disaster program. That program provides assistance to producers of non-insurable crops when they have low yields, low inventory, or prevented planting occurs to natural disasters. Then you see we have the DMC. DMC is our dairy marketing coverage. This program offers protections for dairy producers when the difference between the milk prices and the feed cost falls below a certain dollar amount. And we have the Farm Storage Facility Loan. Farm Storage Facility Loan, you probably ride by some of the farms and see the bins that's up, some of the barns that's been put up by the farmers. That could be financed by our Farm Storage Facility Loan. This loan provides low interest rates for producers to build, purchase, or upgrade facilities used to store, or handle, and transport eligible commodities. That's just some of the programs that we have at Farm Service Agency. We have many more, but those are the ones that our top programs that we have as of today. Thank you. Next slide, please. Our next program is called our Farm Loan Program. Farm Loan Program. We have several different pointers to our farm loan department. We have our direct operating loan. This loan helps producers pay for normal operating expenses, including purchase of machinery, purchase equipment, seed, livestock, feed, and many more items for your operating costs. The maximum limit that we could give you, the maximum funds, is $400,000 for that annual operating loan. Now, the interest rate on that loan is 1.37%. That is August interest rate. The term is 1 year for operating expenses. To purchase livestock and equipment, the term could be up to 7 years. We have our direct farm ownership loan. Farm ownership loans may be used to purchase a farm, enlarge a farm, construct a new farm building, improve structures, pay closing costs, promote soil and water conservation and protection. The direct farm ownership maximum amount is $600,000. The term is up to 40 years. Interest rate as of August is 2.375%. Then we have our guaranteed loan. That's when you work with the lender of your choice. FSA guaranteed loans are available to farmers who may not meet the loan qualification from a commercial lender. Guaranteed loans are made and serviced by commercial lenders such as banks, farm credit, institution of credit unions. FSA will guarantee farm loans through a commercial lender up to 95%. The maximum amount of the guaranteed loan is $1,776,000. That is the maximum that Farm Service Agency will allow. Our next loan is the youth loan. The youth loan provides operating loans up to $5,000 to our youth ages 10 to 20 years of age to finance income producing projects that are developed and carried out through a project advisor, such as our 4-H leader, FFH teacher, tribal organization, or any similar group. The project must be an opportunity for the young person to acquire an experience and education in agriculture-related skills. We cannot finance a car, which we usually get those calls. Can I use a loan to purchase a car? No, it has to be an agriculture project. We have our microloans. Microloans provide farm loans for annual operating expenses, equipment, livestock, real estate, and small business, underserved, veteran farmers, diverse farmers. Farm and operating and farm ownership loans are up to $50,000 each. Now, this came about during the Farm Bill, 2018 Farm Bill, when you were able to get $50,000 each. At one time, it was just $50,000 total. The emergency loan helps farmers and ranchers who have suffered a loss caused by a natural disaster that damaged their farming or ranch operation. Emergency loan funds may be used to restore, replace essential property, pay off all or part of production costs associated with the disaster year, pay family living essential expenses, recognize the farming operation and refinance certain debts. So we can reorganize the farming operation and pay off certain debts. Next slide, please. Okay, you see we have our Conservation Reserve Program. You may hear people talk about, oh, I have some of my land in CRP, grassland, crop, etc. This is our Conservation Reserve Program. Conservation Reserve Program protects the soil, water quality, habitat by removing highly erodible environmental sensitive land from agriculture production through long-term agreement. That's a rental agreement that you have that they pay a certain amount on for CRP. Then we have our emergency conservation program. Provides emergency funding, technical assistance to rehabilitate farmland damaged by the natural disaster, and to implement emergency water conservation measures in periods where it's a severe drought. This increased and share expanded programs to our social disadvantaged and our beginner farmers and renters. Advanced payment could be allowed for repair or replacing of fencing. Increased payment limitation has been increased during the phone bill, since the phone bill, to $500,000 per disaster. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a program that came out a couple months ago, right after the disaster hit. And this is called our Corona Food Assistance Program. You may hear people call it CFAP. CFAP provides vital assistance to producers of agricultural commodities who have suffered a 5% or greater price decline, losses due to market supply chains, and this was due to the disruption by COVID-19, who have faced additional significant marketing costs for lower demands, lower production costs, a disruption in shipping. Those applications are only received through August the 28th. The application must be in by August the 28th. Virginia has paid out since last Monday for the CFAP program over $67.5 million. We paid out over $67.5 million. And this, the county offices are working from home, teleworking from home, and we are still been able to administer this program effective. So that's a great job for Farm Service Agency. And you will see this program is considered, it's the livestock program, non-specialty crop and wool program that we pay on. Livestock, you have to have certain ones that you can get paid on. It's also the hogs, the yearlings, dairy. You can receive a single payment on dairy also with this program. Specialty crop. When you look at specialty crop, you wonder, hey, what kind of specialty crop? Specialty crops, we have a whole list of specialty crops that you can get paid on. Okay, that is our CFAP program. So the CFAP program is one of the largest programs that we are administering right now during COVID-19. So for producers, if you have not been by the FSA office to see if you qualify, you need to run by and see if you qualify before August 28th. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. And to get the message across, we have a program called Gov Delivery. Gov Delivery is a newsletter that goes out monthly. Sometimes you receive bulletins from Farm Service Agency. Anytime the Secretary Perdue has a new program that he would like to get out and get it out soon, we can do a newsletter, a bulletin, so we can get that information out to the farmers as fast as we can. So if you have not signed up for the Gov Delivery, please take advantage of signing up for this great newsletter that goes out monthly from the state office and from the local county office. We also have our SMS text alerts. If something is available, we shoot you a text. And we can only send 2 texts per month. 2 texts per month. So this is just keeping the producers, the farmers, the ranchers, the veterans, all of you informed of the Farm Service Agency programs that we have available. So sign up for Gov Delivery. Next slide, please. Well, Farm Service Agency have several websites. Our main website is the first one, fsa.usda.gov. You can find just about any program that's available, anything on that website. Now you look at our next website, it's thefarmers.gov /CFAP. If you want to know anything about that CFAP program, you go to this gov's /CFAP website. And if you're a new farmer and you just would like to know about the program, find out some information, we have a new farmers website. And our next website is the farmers.gov Discovery Tube. This will help you find out about the loans. Discovery Tubes give you all the information that we have that you may be interested in receiving. Next slide, please. And this is my contact information. I'm the public relations specialist, but we have 41 offices across Virginia that is waiting to serve you. They're reaching out their hands and come on in. We would like to provide you some assistance. So this time I would like to thank Katrina and her team for allowing me to speak on behalf of USDA and also on behalf of my supervisor, Naveen A. Elagohari. At this time, I would like to say, based on Secretary Perdue, do the right thing and feed everyone. On behalf of Diane Lenore Giles, Katrina, thank you.
Thank you so much, Diane. That was great information. I do see that there's one question for you in the chat. The question is, does USDA have a program to finance a mobile livestock slaughter facility?
Not at this time. We have not been in that area, but I will check. If that person will send me their name and address, just email me. I'll be glad to get some information on it and provide them some assistance at any time. I may be able to contact one of the specialists and find out if we're able to do that. But I have, in my 32 years, we have not financed one, but it may be something in another program that we can help them with.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
If there are any other questions for Diane, please feel free to post them in the chat. Since we had a little bit of technical difficulty with getting my deputy director on earlier in the day, we're gonna move her to closing and move up the agenda. So we're gonna take a break now. Let's take a 10-minute break. But before I let you go, I wanna ask you all to take a moment to think about the projects or community plans that you may be working on and let us know what information or assistance we can provide or our partners can provide you, and maybe we can even connect you with to help you increase your chances for success. You can put that information in the chat, and I hope you enjoy your break. I'll see you back here at 9:50. Thanks, bye-bye. Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you had a good break. We're gonna go back to our program today, and I see that we posted a few things in the chat, so I'll have some of the agency staff recheck the chat and get back to you on some of the questions that you have. Next up, before we move to the break, I just want to go over a few reminders. All of the attendees are muted. Any questions that you have for the presenters may be submitted via the chat. Due to time limitations, we may not be able to get to all of the questions, but a recording of this webinar will be available, and you'll receive an email with a link to that information and also a link to the slides, and the information in the chat will come to you. So I do again thank you for joining us today, and we will move forward with our program. I'd like to introduce to you our Deputy Director for the Office of Partnerships and Program Engagement, Ms. Jackie Davis-Slay. I'd like to give her an opportunity to say a few words today. Jackie?
Thank you, Katrina, and thank you, Rachel and your team for really hosting and facilitating this summit. Again, on behalf of Secretary Perdue, on behalf of Mr. Mike Beatty, our director, we would like to say welcome to the Virginia Summit. I had some technical difficulties earlier this morning, so I was just able to get back on about 20 minutes ago. These are just some thank yous. We would like to thank the Dean and Dr. Abdullah for hosting the summit, and we're excited about what is coming forth in Virginia. You've heard some fantastic speaker, Diane, and from FSA and Beth, and a lot of great information there, and you will be receiving some more information. We want to say that this is not our only summit. We will be conducting even more in Virginia and spreading the news of resources that are available through the federal and private sector. We are excited to be here with you all, and I'm going to make this brief and short because I want you to get back to hearing more information. But and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. COVID-19 has really taken its toll, on this nation and on the world. And there are resources that we can really partner in these opportunities and provide to you all to really help and assist you in this time of need. So on behalf of the Office of Partnership and Public Engagement, we want to thank you for participating, and please feel free to reach out to us at any time, to get information on how we can help your communities. Thank you, Katrina.
Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate those words. Next up, I would like to introduce Keith Boyd. Now, our next presenter is not only the best conservationist in the business, he is also what we call a notable alumnus of Virginia State University. And I'm excited to have him here to tell you more about Natural Resource Conservation Service programs. I would now like to welcome Mr. Keith Boyd, Assistant State Conservationist for Field Operations.
Well, thank you so much, Katrina. And I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to allow me to talk about some things that are near and dear to my heart. And thank you from NRCS, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, for allowing us to talk about what we do and give some brief updates and description of our work. Can I get you to flip on to the next slide there? Really, it's difficult for me to talk about the Natural Resources Conservation Service without giving a little bit of background into the history of our nation, of our agency, and its impact on this nation, and why we're still here today. We started in 1935 in response to the Dust Bowl, and our founding father, Hugh Hammond Bennett, the picture you see here, is an American hero. He was a key leader back in and around the Dust Bowl times when he recognized that we Americans and farmers probably weren't utilizing our resources or taking care of them like we should have. And it caused our soil to blow away, quite frankly, during the Dust Bowl. And he brought that to the attention of the lawmakers in Washington, D.C., and he created what was called the Soil Conservation Service back then. And we worked directly with landowners and farmers to try to remedy the situation. And if you notice, the Dust Bowl, it was an issue where soil was blowing away due to wind. We had bare soil. But in other parts of the country, the soil was wearing away from rainfall and water erosion. And it was a real tragedy and a downward trend for our nation. We worked since the 30s, and then in 1994, we were renamed the Natural Resources Conservation Service. But anyway, Hugh Hammond Bennett is a really interesting guy. I encourage you to Google him. There's a lot to learn about him. Not many in the general public know a great deal about him, but he truly is an American hero, and he's the inspiration for most employees that work for the Natural Resources Conservation Service. We're really proud to be a part of that. Anyway, next slide, please, Jacqueline. We as an agency, we put a real focus on sustainable agriculture. We deliver agricultural solutions so agriculture producers can protect natural resources and feed a growing world. We're real proud of that. Our mode of operation, the way we operate is we work one-on-one with the farmers and the landowners. We recognize that no 2 acres of land are the same. No 2 farms are the same. The management is different in each one. And we at NRCS, we have our field office and our field staff. We have about 40 some across Virginia. We're typically co-located with the Farm Service Agency. You heard from Diane about the offices. We're co-located with them. And we work one-on-one with the landowners. Our vision is a world of clean and abundant water, healthy soils, and resilient landscapes, and thriving agricultural communities through voluntary conservation. Voluntary conservation, that's another key component of what we do. When we work with the landowners and the farmers, we typically go out to the field. We're trying not to let this COVID-19 affect us or slow us down much at all. We have the offices, but the phones still work. People still call, and we try to go out and we make house calls, house visits to the farms. Each office has a 4-wheel drive pickup truck, so we get out and we work one-on-one with the landowners. And we typically start off with farm planning. We call this technical assistance. We go out and we evaluate the resources, try to get a good understanding of what the concerns are, what the problems might be. And then through the planning process, then we'll prescribe one of many of the different financial assistance programs that we do administer. Some you've heard of, the EQIP program, CSP. We're also involved in the CRP with the Farm Service Agency. But anyway, it's a joint effort, one-on-one with the landowners, and no two are the same. Each farmer gets a plan, and then many get contracts for that cost sharing. Next slide, please, Katrina. We focus on science-based technical assistance. We're always utilizing the latest research. We partner with the land-grant universities. Virginia State University is a big one in Virginia for us, also with Virginia Tech. We're always working with the researchers at our field days, and we take the research information and put it in our standards and specifications for the many different conservation practices that we have. Practices include things like cover crops, no-till farming. We have a lot of engineered type practices that we work with farmers on, dealing with animal waste issues, chicken litter, dairy waste issues, pack barns, things to just try to help farmers deal with the animal waste. And then we try to best utilize those to capture the various nutrients that are in that. And that's our nutrient management programs. And we constantly have input from Virginia Tech and VSU on how best to utilize these things and implement them into our programs so we can help translate that onto the local farms. So partnerships and the voluntary effort is key to our success and key to how we work. We're always working with our partners in soil and water conservation districts, the local extension services, and hopefully with all of us putting our heads together and utilizing the the various programs that we could possibly provide cost share assistance. Next slide, please. Small farmers. Here in the last, 5 or 6 years, we've really had there's been a refreshing push in development of working with small farmers in more urban regions. In years past, we had been criticized of being only working with the big farmers. And that's true. We do work with the big farmers, and we try to get them to more of a sustainable operation. But in the more recently, it's really become exciting to be working with the urban farmers, with the growth and with the foodies across the nation and the new restaurants and so forth. There's emphasis on high value crops and hopefully getting better tasting fresh vegetables into the food deserts. And I know Richmond, Virginia is considered one. I think in parts of Petersburg as well, and in other regions in Virginia. So it's really nice to feel like we're helping some of the smaller growers with the high tunnels and trying to produce fresh produce, and hopefully, and with a real broad view, hopefully we're providing better tasting vegetables, and maybe we're helping with some people with their improved diet. So anyway, that's just something that's been motivating me personally with some of our programs and activities. Next slide, please. Here's some pictures of some folks working with the high tunnels. We've been very successful in getting those in Virginia. The high tunnel is basically a greenhouse. It's not heated. It doesn't have an electric or a gas propane heater in it. They're designed to capture the sun's radiation and provide extra heat, and it extends the growing season. So we put in several of those across the state and, quite frankly, across the nation, and it really has help with production and get a lot more produce out and on the street and into the consumer's hands in a timely manner, and maybe a few weeks before they would have normally gotten there. So anyway, next slide, please. Another big input or big push from Virginia is us working with the Virginia Indian tribes. You know, with Virginia has had several new tribes become federally recognized in the last couple of years, and that has been very exciting development. You see a picture here. There's a weather station that we've installed on the Pamunkey Reservation there in Eastern Virginia. That's been kind of a very unique operation, but it's a long-standing program where we're going to be monitoring the weather impacts on the soil ecosystem there on the Pamunkey Indian Reservation, which is on the banks of the Pamunkey River. So that's kind of real exciting. Also, we're working with several other tribes in Virginia to help them best utilize the land that they have, and it's bringing a real sense of pride, I think, to some of the Native Americans. So anyway, next slide, please, Katrina. We also have special efforts working with veterans, military veterans. We have an effort to work with military folks when they come back. If they've been overseas fighting, seen hostilities, they get to come back, and we've had some success working with individuals and getting farms up and running, and hopefully get them back to a more normal life where they're productive on the land. And I know the ones that I've spoken with have been real appreciative of that, because it can be a challenge sometimes, and it's real rewarding to work with the folks in the military. So next slide, please, Katrina. I'm going to go back to a little bit to our technical assistance. This is something that gets lost a lot of times. A lot of folks come to us wanting to know where we have money and where we have grants and where we can provide help financially. But really the backbone of the Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS, is our technical assistance. And that means we have highly trained individuals that work one-on-one to come out to your farm. We survey for engineering work. We do farm planning. We analyze and look at soils, and we help design a plan to help the farmers and the landowners best utilize their natural resources. And it's at no cost. All you have to do is make contact, and our guys and girls will come out. Like I said, we have four-wheel drive trucks. They like to get out of the office. That's important to them. I know they feel tied to the computer a lot of times, when it comes to administering some of the programs, but it's that technical assistance. It's that getting out in the field and having that dialogue one-on-one with the landowners that is the key to what we do. And it really helps us get the right stuff on the land at the right time. So next slide, please. A little bit about the financial assistance. The different programs for conservation, they change annually, but they really change in a big way with every new farm bill. But so right now what we're dealing with is the big one that we deal with is the Environmental Qualities Incentive Program, EQIP for short. That's a program that, if a farmer has a erosion problem or an animal waste problem, typically they come in after they meet with the landowners, and they come in, meet with the staff, and we do a farm plan. And if we realize we need an animal waste structure or a chicken composting bin to deal with chicken mortality in the chicken house, or any kind of a water quality issue, the EQIP program is typically the best program for that. And we'll provide, it's a competitive program. You'll put forth an application, and it gets ranked and scored. And if it scores high enough, meaning that we're going to gain the highest amount of benefits for this, then it will basically win a contract, and you'll enter a contract with us. Typically there are 2, 3, 4 years that you will implement and install the various conservation practices. Another one of those practices that I haven't mentioned yet is we have an aquaculture program where we're actually working with oyster growers in the Chesapeake Bay region, they can get EQIP contracts to help with the establishment and creation of the quality habitat needed to raise oysters. I won't say artificially, but engage in aquaculture and cage production or planting and production of oysters in the Chesapeake Bay. And that's been a real success story of EQIP. It's brought an entire new community to the USDA through EQIP, and it's the watermen's community. So that's been kind of a neat story for us to tell. If you've been to any local restaurants in Virginia recently, you know there's a big deal with resurgence of the different oysters from Virginia. So that's something I'm particularly proud of, being from Eastern Virginia, and as much as I love seafood too. But anyway, but we also have the Conservation Stewardship Program, which is, it approaches conservation in a different way. It recognizes farmers and landowners that may not have some acute conservation problems on their farm, but they're really doing a good job, and their land is extremely stable, and it's providing to really good water quality in the bays and rivers. The CSP program is a way for us to try to measure that and capture that and provide a monetary reward for the farmers doing the right thing and doing a good job. And if you get into that program, then we do what we call enhancements, where we try to take it the extra step, particularly if it's like a forestry project. We're going to work with them to do some extra forest management, maybe try to incorporate some wildlife habitat improvements on the property, things like that. And we also, this will include nutrient management to try to enhance soil productivity, maybe rebuild some soil health. But anyway, that's the CSP program. Then we have the Regional Conservation Partnership Program. That's where nonprofits and other organizations come in and work with us through a more broad-based approach, more regional effort at conservation. That's the RCPP. So anyway, next slide, please, Katrina. We have Conservation Innovation Grants. This is a kind of a neat program where we work with partners, and typically these are soil and water conservation districts, universities, nonprofits. If they have an idea or something that we want to kind of develop, and not necessarily research, but demonstrations, and trying new ideas and new approaches, trying to just explore innovation to try to see how we can improve things out there on the farm and on the land. So that's called the CIG, Conservation Innovation Grants. They come about, people sign up annually for those, and I think annually we get some new ones. We get 3 or 4 a year maybe. So since 2010, we've invested more than $2.4 million in these grants. So it's been a pretty good deal. We really appreciate that. And I tell you, there's been a lot of development in the soil health arena from the Conservation Innovation Grants. That's a lot of room for development there and innovation when it comes to soil health, playing around with cover crops and different tillage methods and planting methods. So that's been exciting to see as well. Next slide, Katrina. I briefly mentioned that we have the 40-some field offices across Virginia. We're divided, NRCS is divided into 4 regions or areas across Virginia. I'm the director of one area, the Eastern Virginia coast, the coastal plain, pretty much Interstate 95 East. And then we have the 3 others in Virginia. But within those areas, we have the field offices, and that's kind of where you start with us. You come in and you make contact with the local staff, and we'll do the farm planning, and we'll see to it that we get the correct expertise and the correct design efforts on your land there. So next slide, please. So the common goal that we have is enhancing productivity and profitability on your land to protect your natural resources. It's in everybody's benefit. It's if your farm is profitable, that's what we want to see happen. We want to see that your natural resources, which I sometimes like to call the infrastructure of rural America. If you think about it, rural America, the infrastructure is the soil and water that we have out there. So we need to take care of that. So that's an important part of what we do. And one last thing, I neglected to mention it in our the programs that we have. We also have some easement programs that we deal with that are very effective and make a huge impact in some areas. I think there's already some questions about easements and how they impact communities. One of the big easement programs we have is called the Wetland Reserve Program. It's WRE now, but it's where farmers, if they have land that used to be a wetland and it was drained for farming purposes in years past, then we can put it into a perpetual easement, recreate the wetland that was there, and then, so in effect, what we're doing is we're taking some land that may be marginal to the farmer, putting it back in an environmental wetland situation, and the landowner and the families get some financial benefit from that. We also have the farmland protection easement, where it's the federal government will enter into an easement with an individual or farm to basically purchase the development rights, and you get to keep the farm and continue farming into perpetuity. You just get rid of you lose your development rights. That's been a real impact on some landowners. There's been some cases where families were in danger of actually losing the farms. And by entering into an agreement, an easement with USDA, they were able to get the financial benefits to keep the farm. And so that's been real effective. Also, too, easements have been utilized in coastal areas where sea level rise has been a real concern. It's a way to kind of offset or mitigate the damages from that. But anyway, I believe that's my last slide, Katrina. So with that being said, I think I'll wrap it up.
Well, thank you so much, Keith. As you mentioned, there was one advanced question that I got, and I think you touched on it a little bit, but I'll go ahead and put it out to the groups and give you a chance to answer. How do conservation easements factor into building community resilience, and how much funding do local governments have to contribute?
I don't know the specifics on the local government's contribution. I know it can vary from region to region. So I'd have to have a specific question, and I would have to refer that to Diane Dunaway in our state office, who is our easement specialist. But we can easily put you in touch with her. But for that, that's for the farmland protection easements. And how do they impact communities and the resiliency of communities? I think the best answer to that is it empowers individuals and families to utilize the financial resources that they would get from an easement for them to protect that land. It kind of depends on what community we're really talking about. If you're talking about the rural community, the easements help keep the land rural. They keep the open landscape. They keep that country feel of a region. If you're talking about a coastal community, I mentioned the sea level rise that's been very successful in offsetting the damage from sea level rise. So I think easements can play a major role. In some cases, I know they've been lifesavers for folks for actually saving the farm.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And if there are any other questions for Keith, please feel free to post them in the chat. You all are doing a good job keeping us busy in that chat. And next up, I'd like to introduce Ms. Patricia Dombrowski, the Regional Administrator for the Mid-Atlantic Regional Office at USDA's Food and Nutrition Service. She is the engine that provides leadership for 15 domestic nutrition assistance programs in 6 states, along with the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. Ms. Dombrowski has had the unique opportunity to direct all of the agency's assistance programs throughout her tenure with the Food and Nutrition Service. She has served as Mid-Atlantic Regional Director of the WIC program, the Food Stamp Program, now known as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and the Special Nutrition Programs. Ms. Dombrowski also led the agency's largest field office, managing more than 15,000 food stamp retailers and the federally operated summer food service program in New York State. So needless to say, you couldn't find a better, more qualified person to engage with regarding resiliency and the food and nutrition service program. I'd like to now introduce Ms. Dombrowski.
Thank you, Katrina, for the nice introduction, and a big thank you to the Office of Partnership and Public Engagement, Rural Development, and VSU for pulling this summit together. Be able to have this conversation and continuing conversation. I'll give Katrina just a minute to pull up my slides. There we go, and we could go to the next. So in the Mid-Atlantic region, as mentioned, I'm with the Food and Nutrition Service, and the way that we are organized is our national office, and then we have 7 regions. And as mentioned, I'm regional administrator for the Mid-Atlantic region, which includes New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, DC, Virginia, West Virginia, and Puerto Rico. So we provide oversight for 15 nutrition assistance programs. Many I'm sure you're aware of, our school meals programs, our summer program perhaps, our WIC program, our SNAP program, formerly food stamp program. A little different for us though compared to some of the other USDA agencies is that we do not directly administer the programs. We work through our partners at state agencies. So for example, we work with departments of education in our states to carry out the school meals, and they then obviously through schools. We work with Department of Health regarding the WIC program, and then through the clinics. And then also with Department of Health and Human Services or Department of Social Services, where the SNAP program is usually administered from. So that's how we're kind of set up. Moving on, Katrina, just wanted to mention 3 of our agency priorities. One, certainly helping people achieve better outcomes that help lead them to self-sufficiency. And that can be through improved nutrition, improved health, and also job opportunities. And then like all federal agencies, we certainly have a focus on stewardship of federal funds and program payments correctly distributed to individuals. And then our delivery of our services has a focus of the needs of our customers. And I think Secretary Perdue has said earlier, mentioned his motto, do right and feed everyone. Today, I wanted to, if we can move on, Katrina, thank you. Today, given time, wanted to focus on 3 areas that I think provide some opportunities for community and economic development. And as also previously mentioned, I see this as the start of conversations, and if any of these areas or even our other nutrition programs are of interest, we're more than happy to be a part of future conversations. But focusing on these 3 today, moving on, wanted to first start with SNAP in Virginia. And this really starts with a little bit of data. Nationally, about 36 million people are served through SNAP each month. And then in Virginia, I think a point to note is that $83 million in SNAP benefits goes out every month in Virginia. So that's 83 million every month in Virginia. Which then leads me to the next slide to talk about SNAP and farmers markets, an area again where I see some opportunity. Moving on to the next slide. Nationally, we know about 82% of SNAP benefits are redeemed at supermarkets and superstores. Only 0.05% of SNAP benefits are redeemed at farmers markets or through direct marketing by farmers. Both are options for farmers. So moving on to redemptions in Virginia. Virginia follows the national patterns. And this is where we really see an opportunity and would like to see an increase in the number of authorized farmers and farmers markets that are authorized to accept SNAP benefits. You'll note that redemptions in Virginia were about 200,000 for each of the last 2 years. So again, remember 200,000 per year with 83 million going out every month in SNAP benefits. So this is, again, like I say, I think we see an opportunity for farmers and farmer markets becoming authorized to accept SNAP benefits. Not only supports the individual farmers, but certainly the agriculture community in Virginia as well. And the next slide, and I know these slides are going to be available to everyone, but that is just some information and resources about getting authorized to accept SNAP benefits. And we are always here and happy to assist with any questions or through that process. Moving on, my second area that I wanted to mention today, or opportunity, is to talk a little bit about SNAP employment and training, or as we refer to it, SNAP ENT. We all have our acronyms. So by way of a little explanation, the next slide shows that employment and training, or ENT, is a program within the SNAP program. And it represents really how we see our programs not only being a safety net, but also what we refer to as a launch pad, something that can help place recipients on a path towards a more independent life. And that really is the purpose behind SNAP employment and training. So one area of focus within SNAP employment and training, as you'll see, there's 3 bullets, but the one I wanted to highlight is really the first bullet, and that's supporting the continued expansion of state programs, which means working with our state partners to, 1, improve recruitment of providers, those that provide ENT services, to improve the referral of SNAP participants to providers of services, and 3, improve access for SNAP participants to what we refer to as supportive services, those type of case management services that really help participants deal with particular barriers and challenges that they may face. So we've really been putting a lot of emphasis on that area, that first bullet. And then moving on, wanted to talk a little bit about Virginia's employment and training program, because again, with dealing with the 8 states in the region, the employment and training programs do vary a little from state to state. In Virginia, had been focused on being a pilot state. They were a pilot state through the Farm Bill. And with that and the way the pilot ran, they actually had limited expansion. But within the last year, Virginia Department of Social Services, who administers the employment and training program in Virginia, they brought on Julie Jackson, who is really focusing on workforce and expansion of services and providers. Virginia has a strong partnership with the Virginia Community College Systems, 23 community colleges, and they have employment and training programs. One, Great Expectations, is targeting youth that are aging out of the foster care system. And then there's also Fast Forward, which is really targeting individuals that are pursuing credentials in career technical training. And Virginia has also recently brought on 7 new, what we refer to as third-party providers, including Northern Virginia Family Services and 2 Goodwill Industries. And I know it could get very technical, and I could spend hours on employment and training, but I wanted to just emphasize the idea and the term, if you will, of third-party providers. Third-party providers are organizations that are currently providing quality training and employment services. And they may even already be serving SNAP participants. And wanted to mention that there is funding available to support those services, those employment and training services. And it's being provided through what we call the 50% reimbursement funds. And it's what our states, including Virginia, are using to expand services by partnering with these third-party organizations. So basically, the partners front the cost of the service delivery with non-federal funds and then get reimbursed 50% of the cost. So again, there's a lot of details and specifics within that, and happy at a future summit or side conversations or additional conversations for those interested to go into a lot more detail on exactly how all of that works. And then moving on to the next slide, my third and last area that I wanted to highlight as an opportunity for today is SNAP Nutrition Education, or again, SNAP Ed as we shorten it to. So SNAP Ed, and Katrina, we could have the next slide. So SNAP Ed is it's a federal state partnership, and it supports nutrition education for persons eligible for SNAP, with obesity prevention as a major emphasis, but also very much embracing comprehensive community-based public health approaches. Because we know the health of a community does also have impact and connection to the economic opportunities and viability of communities. So that is really where SNAP Nutrition Education focuses. Moving on, again, to give a little bit in terms of Virginia's approach with SNAP Nutrition Education, because again, there are variations across our states. But in Virginia, the SNAP Ed program is administered by the Department of Social Services, but it's actually implemented by Virginia Cooperative Extension Family Nutrition Programs at Virginia Tech. So in 2019, over 100,000 Virginians received direct education, and over 100,000 people were reached by social media and social marketing. So participants and others who benefit from the SNAP Nutrition Education, which includes policy, it includes systems, it includes environmental changes, but the SNAP Ed is provided at schools, at farmers markets, it could be at food retailers, and other community partner sites. The Virginia Tech Family Nutrition Program has agreements to collaborate with almost 250 local and state level partners, and very much targeted for outcomes on improved consumption of fruits and vegetables, increased physical activity, improved resource management. And I would then just offer that if you are not aware of a SNAP Ed program in your community or your area, to find the nearest SNAP Ed program, I would encourage you to reach out to Virginia Tech. There may already be a program in your area, or they can talk with you about ways in which to partner and to bring the program to your community. And then, as others have mentioned, during these times, everybody, I think, tries to be creative and innovative, and how do they deliver services under the current health crisis. So just wanted to point out two Virginia Tech is using for their nutrition education and public health efforts. One is the Teen Cuisine curriculum, and now that is conducted online for students and families, and it just brings that foundation. Walmart is actually supporting it, providing food for the recipes, and participants can hone their cooking skills virtually. And then there's also now telephone lessons that are really available to assist some of the rural residents who may not have the internet connection, but can participate in online classes. And some of the topics have included shopping with fewer options, shelf-stable foods, and food storage guidelines, and more. The list goes on. So as mentioned, those are just those are the three that I really wanted to just target today and share. The last slide provides contacts. You can always reach out to me and I can make sure that to make connections for you. This slide and the whole presentation will be available to you as well if you want to reach out to any of the state partners. And guess would just like to say again that would look forward to continuing the conversation. So thank you, Katrina.
Thank you so much, Pat. This is terrific information. And I have a question that's not specific to food and nutrition service, but some of your programs may be able to support. We had a question about from Sarah Levinson. She says, our community needs to expand childcare services. Are there any programs that can help with that? And rural development may be able to talk about that a little bit with their community facilities program, but I know FNS may have some programs that support that goal too.
Well, and we certainly support that from the standpoint of being able to, where there are childcare facilities and services, to be able to support those efforts with the childcare feeding programs, both childcare programs and our at-risk programs. So that would be our involvement in support of those programs.
And would that include the summer feeding program too?
Exactly, yes.
Well, thank you so much again. And if anyone has any questions for Administrator Dombrowski, please feel free to post them in the chat. On to our next presenter. It is an understatement to say that I am thrilled to welcome our final presenter. Since her days as the Dean of the College of Agriculture at Virginia State University, she has blazed a trail that has taken her from Virginia State Executive Director for the USDA Farm Service Agency to her current position as the Commissioner of the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. I am pleased today to welcome Dr. Jewel Bronaugh, and with her today to talk with us about some of the programs VDAX has that may provide a lifeline for you and your community is Ms. Jennifer Perkins, Project Manager in the Office of Agriculture and Forestry Development. Ladies.
Thank you. Thank you, Katrina, so much. And Katrina's done such a great job of bringing us all together. And I appreciate you, Katrina, for inviting VDAX to be a part of this wonderful summit. And thank you to USDA and Virginia State University for coordinating this. We're really excited to be here, myself and Jennifer Perkins from within VDAX, and just want to talk a little bit about some of the programs that we have here at VDAX. And so Katrina, if you would move forward to the next slide, please. Yes, thank you very much. And yes, I'll jump into the next slide. Who are we at VDAX? And so we are within the Governor's Secretariat of Agriculture and Forestry. And I think we need to go back to the slide before this one. Yes, thank you so much. And I want to bring you greetings on behalf of Governor Northam and our Secretary of Agriculture and Forestry here in Virginia, Secretary Bettina Ring. And we are within that secretariat. We were established way back in 1877. And I understand the first commissioner's biggest complaint at VDAX was when people were riding their horses in to come to work, the manure that was on their shoes was brought into the building, and the building was very dirty back then. And we've changed. We have new problems now, but we've come a long way since 1877. And when you think about VDAX, we do both economic development work and we have regulatory responsibilities. Now, a lot of people think that VDAX is a baby USDA, a state level USDA, and we're not quite set up in that way. We are a state agency. And so a lot of the work that we do as a state agency here in Virginia is dictated by laws that come through and legislation that comes through the Virginia General Assembly. As a matter of fact, about half of our funding comes from general funds from the state of Virginia. And so we're responsible for more than 60 state laws and 70 regulations as it pertains to the promotion of agriculture, consumer protection, and environmental stewardship. So we do a lot of regulatory work along with many of the other programs. We have about 544 employees and locations all across the state of Virginia. And about 17% of all of our funds come from USDA. So we are very closely tied with USDA, and we cannot do our work in serving Virginia agriculture without USDA. We have numerous cooperative agreements with USDA, especially when it comes to grading and inspection services and other activities. And I think about all of you all who are participating in the summit today and how we partner with each of the USDA agencies. For example, with FSA, we work together in terms of disaster declarations when there have been occurrences from natural disasters that have happened with our farmers and they declare a disaster. We work with FSA in that capacity, with NRCS and many of our conservation programs and land conservation, with the Food Nutrition Service, farmers markets. And of course, we work very closely with Cooperative Extension at both Virginia State University and Virginia Tech. And we have a specific partnership agreement with our pesticide certification and education program that we cannot do without Cooperative Extension. So we're tied very closely to USDA and many of the agencies, and I'm just really excited to talk a little bit more about our work here. So next slide, please. So what does VDAX do? I feel like we do a little bit of everything, and I just listed some of the services that we provide through our 4 major divisions. And so if you notice on the left, we have our Division of Animal and Food Industry Services, and that's where we deal with things like infectious animal diseases, livestock inspections. We have 4 regional animal health labs that deal with animal diagnostics, food manufacturing inspection, dairy inspection, fruit and vegetable work there. Then we have our Division of Consumer Protection, and I always say this is where we do a lot of things that people didn't know that we do. I mentioned pesticides, food labeling, noxious weeds and invasive plants. I don't know if you all saw recently on the news about these infamous seeds that people were receiving from China. We have been dealing with numerous inquiries and responses in partnership with USDA APHIS to tell people what to do and what not to do with those seeds. We also deal with endangered plants and insects. We have a beehive program. Interestingly enough, weights and measures. If you go to the grocery store and you'll see a VDAX sticker on the, when you check out on the scale there, we regulate those. The gas pumps, same thing. A lot of people don't even realize that we regulate health spas, bingo in the state of Virginia. There's a lot of things that we do under that Division of Consumer Protection. And I mentioned our grading and inspection services under our Division of Commodity Services, and you see different focuses that we have in terms of inspection and grading. And today, in terms of our economic development work and some of the resources that we have that could be very valuable to communities, I'm going to focus on the work that we do in our Division of Marketing and Development under our agriculture and forestry development work. And I'm so excited to have one of our staff members, Jen Perkins, and she's such a talented person, and she has been joining me to do a lot of the new work that we're doing. And I want to talk specifically about 2 new programs that we have. And I've asked Jen to join us today to talk about our newly, I'm going to say revised by the General Assembly, Agriculture and Forestry Industries Development Planning Grant. So I will pass the microphone to Jen, and Jen, thank you for joining me and doing this presentation.
Yes, thank you so much. So yes, I'm going to share some information on the Governor's Agriculture and Forestry Industries Development Fund, also known as the AFID or APHID fund, and specifically the planning grant. But first I thought I would share some background with you. So the Virginia General Assembly created the APHID fund in 2012 with the goal of encouraging localities to better incorporate agriculture and forestry into their overall economic development activities. There are 2 different pieces of the APHID fund. There's the APHID Facilities Grant Program, which is a more traditional economic development tool. That program provides cash grants to incentivize value-added agroforestry companies to locate or expand in Virginia, with the requirement that they source 30% of their products from the Commonwealth and that the locality provides some matching funds. So an example here would be a new hard cidery that is going to create new investment, create new jobs, and will be purchasing Virginia grown apples. So that's sort of your more traditional economic development. The other piece that was created is the APHID Planning Grant Program. So this program, instead of supporting individual companies that buy Virginia ag and forest products, is focused on giving matching grants to local governments to help them undertake a variety of activities that will support their ag and forestry sectors. So some examples here could include ag economic development strategic plans, developing policies for land preservation, conducting feasibility studies for commercial kitchens or meat processing facilities, or creating innovative marketing efforts to connect growers and consumers. Next slide, please. And I also wanted to note that in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the administration wanted to make sure that we were using all of our tools at our disposal to help ag and forestry producers. So we are encouraging localities to pursue projects that focus on the market disruptions that the pandemic has created. Some examples here include creating digital platforms for farmers markets, providing technical assistance to producers to use these new digital marketplaces, which are new to a lot of people, and coordinating low contact pickup and drop off sites. And one of the benefits of all of these projects is that they have the ability to help producers now, but can also help in the long term by improving the producer-consumer connection. Next slide, please. So a few details about the planning grant. Applicants for the grant must be a political subdivision of the Commonwealth. So this is typically counties or cities, but it could also be IDAs or PDCs. Individual applicants can receive up to $20,000, while a multi-jurisdictional application could receive up to $35,000. And we accept these applications on a rolling basis, and we are doing our best to expedite any applications that can help mitigate the impacts of the pandemic. Next slide, please. So I've included this slide to show some of the key details of the program, but I'm not going to go through each of them. But I would like to highlight two items that are significant changes that we made to our guidelines this spring. So the first big change is that we now allow up to $10,000 per grant to be used for capital expenditures. Previously, we only funded soft costs, studies, marketing plans, things like that. But this change allows us to be much more flexible to the needs of the applicant. And a great example is the purchase of refrigerated storage for farmers markets that have moved online, where they can coordinate no contact farmers markets and have drop-off locations and pickup locations with cold storage for produce and other products. The other big change is that the new guidelines aim to make the program more accessible to all of the localities throughout the Commonwealth, and particularly economically distressed localities. So we accomplished this in two different ways. So the first is we expanded the eligible sources of matching funds. So the APHID Planning Grant is a dollar-for-dollar reimbursable matching grant. And previously, 100% of the match had to come from the applicant locality, although Tobacco Commission funds could be used if you happen to be located in the Commission's footprint. Now, in addition to the Tobacco Commission funds being eligible for match, we also will accept federal dollars and nonprofit contributions as match. The other big change is that for economically distressed counties, those other eligible matching sources can be used for up to 90% of the local match. And of that remaining 10% that the locality needs to come up with, half of that could be in-kind match, such as staff time. So this means that an economically distressed locality applying for a $20,000 grant only needs to find $1,000 of cash, which makes it much more accessible for more localities throughout the Commonwealth. So that's sort of the big picture overview. One other thing I did want to highlight is that our goal with this program is to be as helpful as possible. we treat this grant process as a collaboration, and we work closely with any applicants to craft a project that will meet both your needs and meet VDAC's goals. So basically, if you have an idea, reach out to our office and we will see if there is any possible way that we can help you. So that basically covers my part. I'm going to turn it back over to the commissioner, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat, reach out to me directly. I'm happy to help, and I will also post the link to our planning grant page in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. I really appreciate Jen talking about the APHID planning grant. And lastly, I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about a brand new grant opportunity that has come to VDACs. It's so new, it has not even launched yet. It has come from years of work that has been done in the state to address food deserts. And that is the new Virginia Food Access Investment Program and Fund that was just signed into law July 1st. It is a result of some of the advocacy of our state legislators, Delegate Dolores McQuinn and Senator Jennifer McClellan, who proposed the legislation, and they have worked for years to establish such a program. We're really excited to have this new grant program that is specifically to provide funding for the construction, the rehabilitation, equipment upgrades, for expansion of grocery stores, small food retailers, and innovative food retail projects in underserved communities. A very unique program that is new to VDACs, and VDACs will be responsible for getting this grant program up and running, and we will be the agency responsible for overseeing this program. What is really unique about this program is that in the legislation, it said that funding should be given out based on something called equitable food-oriented development frameworks. This is a way to give out funding to projects that's very community-based. A lot of times with grant programs, you know, we will develop a grant and we will land it down on a community and we think it's a good program for the community, but we sometimes haven't even heard the voice of the community. This particular fund and this model is going to require that we hear from the voice of the community as an integral part of how we're going to develop the program, and we're going to disseminate the funds. So you'll notice funded projects must. One, they need to represent historically marginalized communities. This is dictated as part of that EFOD framework. They must prioritize community history and culture. So within the framework and the development of the new businesses, it must really embrace the history and culture of the community that that business will be in. Create real, new, and sustainable economic opportunities. So that's employment and leadership development from within the community. And you see involved community representatives and leaders. So it's about the voice in communities who really affect change and really have the respect of those members of the community. And then it's to build those community assets, equity, and ownership. So this is a different way from how we've developed grant programs. Right now, we are working with the work group who is doing all the behind the scenes development of this grant, which we hope to launch this in November of 2020. We imagine that projects may start with funding anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000, and we're going to work with a CDFI in order to get these funds out. So although this program is in the making, I just wanted to make you aware of it, to keep your ears open as we work through this and make official announcements of how you can access these grant funds and these resources. We're super excited about it. And I did not want to let today go by without telling you that there's more to come on the Virginia Food Access Investment Program and Fund. And so finally, last slide, I just wanted to give you some contact information for the APHID Planning Grant and the Virginia Food Access Investment Program and Fund with the contact of Jennifer Perkins, the project manager of the office, and her email And I would just like to, again, Katrina, thank you for allowing us as a state agency to be involved and sit alongside all of the important USDA partners and agencies. And I just appreciate, Jen and I appreciate being on the call today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know it's hard to get out on a Friday, so I appreciate it. Thank you both for taking the time and giving us this great information and letting us be the first to hear about some of the programs that you have going on over at VDACS. If there are any questions for Commissioner Bernal or Ms. Perkins, please feel free to post them in the chat. Now I would like to invite back Ms. Jackie Davis-Slay, the Deputy Director of the Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement, to close us out. Jackie?
Thank you, Katrina, and thank you for all of this great information. You know, we are excited at the Office of Partnership and Public Engagement. And Jewel and Jen, we will be reaching out to you all to look for partnering opportunities really to help the great citizens of Virginia. I am a Virginian. I've been here since 1992. So anything that we can do to help you all, you know, expand those opportunities. You know, one of the things that we are very interested in are food deserts. And so there are a lot of resources that we have. And what we like to do at the Office of Partnership and Public Engagement is to take and provide those resources in a holistic fashion, taking federal, state, local, private sector resources and putting them together really to tackle the challenges of our communities. One of the things, our motto is to help people. The Secretary's motto is, let's do right and feed everyone. And what our motto is to foster hope and opportunity, build assets, and create wealth. And we want to do that through all of these great opportunities that are available. And we want to do it in a combined, coordinated, collaborative fashion. And so we've established a platform and process with Katrina being our advocate in Virginia, and Virginia State being one of our centers of community prosperity. And that's a concept that we use where we were partnering with that institution that really sits in the midst of all of our communities and has great tools and resources. You've heard from Dean McKinney, President Abdullah. We talk on a weekly basis, and we're excited about that opportunity. We actually have about 27 liaisons such as Katrina across the country. So wherever you all, if there are people here that are attending from other states, please reach out to us and we will provide you that information, because I know a lot of times North Carolina, we have a great liaison there, Larry Hartsfield. A lot of North Carolinians do participate in some of our events, but we're excited about the opportunity. One of the things that we want the communities to do is to come together and form what we call a local prosperity council. We can provide you more information on that policy and that process, but it's bringing together all of those community leaders and those community resources to come to develop a plan of attack to address your self-identified specific challenges and issues. And we will work with you all to organize and provide you with those programs that are available, not only at USDA, y'all, not only at USDA, but through the entire federal sector. And again, also with the state, local, and that private sector. You know, we had a great call with one of our federal agencies, the IRS. And most of the times when we hear from the IRS, you know, we're thinking, okay, what do I owe? What have I done wrong? But what they wanted to do was be a part of our agendas to share their information. There's a lot of funds that are available through the economic impact payments that are not being retrieved by the citizens of our great country. And so they want to use us as a platform to get that word out. You know, non-filers, folks that are homeless, folks, you know, women that have been abused or in shelters, they are still eligible for these funds. And a single person could get $1,200. Anyone that has a child under 16 could get an additional $500 for each child. Married couple, of course, $2,400. But they have to go on, if they haven't filed their taxes, they have to go on and click and register with their Social Security number. So there's a lot of resources out there that our communities are totally unaware of. And that's our job at the Office of Partnership and Public Engagement, is to get those resources, facilitate that information, facilitate these summits and workshops, to get you all that information that's available for you as citizens of our great country. Look, again, I'm Jacqueline Slay. I'm excited about the opportunity, and I'm always excited to, you know, work with my state, Virginia, in really helping those that are in need. You can reach me. My email address is jacqueline.davis-slay usda.gov, or you can give me a call on my cell since we're teleworking, we're in and out of office at 202-422-2551. With any questions, any type of resource, any type of activity, any type of project that you would like to put together to help your community, to help the people that are out there in Virginia, please reach out, and I guarantee you we can come up with some opportunities that you and your communities can apply for. Thank you again. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you to the Regional Rural Development Center, and thank you, Virginia State, for hosting the summit. We will be back. This is not one and done. We're here for you. We're advocates for you. And please use us as a tool and resource to help those that you serve. Thank you.
Thank you again for joining us today. This was a great first step, and we can't wait to follow up with you and look forward to helping you and your communities prosper and grow. Again, slides and chat responses will be posted, and you will receive the link to them in the coming days.